morning, good afternoon. CB, how you doing? How are you today? Good, I hope. Everybody had a good weekend. Ready to get back to it, huh? How we doing today? Just getting everybody here. Money, good to see you, my man. Marco, Slew, Hamza. You think you may have found out about that unknown striker from France? I can't say. I can't. How am I? I'm feeling a lot better today. I'm definitely almost there. Now my son is catching my cold. I hear this is going around like everywhere in the I feel like this is going around the whole world, this little late winter, early spring cold though, because I've spoken to some people I know and out there in the UK as well, and they're all not all, like there's a lot of people catching whatever this little thing is, but I feel much better. The international break feels longer than the summer break. This has felt extremely long, and it's also because it's so quiet, right? Like, um, we in this during summer we get games, we get meaningful stuff, but there's news like every day on transfers and the tour and things like that. So yeah, this has felt really long, and the extra like not playing at the weekend and getting 2 more days has been crazy. Has been crazy. It feels like it's been literally forever since we've played any. Marcus, good to see you. Matt, Red Jedi, hope you're well. All of you, Jason, Finn, Paul, Rohan, Connor, Michael. Not a lot of drama. Yeah, it's been a low drama. It has. It's been very low drama. While you're here, as you're all filing in, please like the stream, like the video. Everybody here, please, as many as absolutely possible. Just please, indeed, do so. Be fantastic. But yeah, there's a lot to discuss. Because there's the FA Youth Cup game tonight is going to be there, and it's going to be exciting. It's a big game. Obviously, it's the biggest youth game in England. I believe it's the biggest youth tournament. It's definitely viewed that way. It's a huge opportunity for United. I've got a couple things to do today. I'm going to do the show with Flex and United View, KG and Owen and all them over there at the start of the Youth Cup game. So we'll kind of be commenting on it as it's going, and then the second half of the game, I will do a watch along over on Big Up for the second half. I will be doing a watch along over there. So as soon as it ends on the United View, I will head over there and watch the second half with everybody. So definitely, I'll hope to see you there as well, so we can watch the second half, because it's good to see for everybody can watch it. The algorithm does hate you, James. I watch every video list. It is what it is. It may be something I need to do better, but yes, it's gonna be live on YouTube. So I'll be doing the regular Monday 7 p.m. show with the guys over there, and then I will do the second half as a watch along. So please, have fun. Watch the game. It's everybody can watch, but come watch the second half over there with me if you want. So I will be there, and then I'll do a little post-match video and all that. So we'll do a lot. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people tagging me and mentioning in a story that came out from France today, and saying that some big clubs are interested in a certain striker. So I won't say anything else, but Chelsea are listening. You know what I mean? Chelsea are listening. Anyway, can't count how many times I've heard you say it is. It's probably my favorite phrase. It is what it is. Do you film before or after work, and do your employees know about Muppeteers? I do it during, before, and after, whenever I find time. And I guess it depends. People I work with know, pretty much. But yeah, that interesting. There, Pleddy keeps talking a lot about Ekitike. Here's the thing about Ekitike, right? United have been interested in him for a long time. Is it being played up more than it is? Probably as well, yes, because of the price. It's a simple thing where United aren't going to pay those types of fees. But let's get into it, because that's kind of my first topic of the day, is strikers. I want to talk about strikers. The first topic of the day. Obviously, you guys are running with this thing that's been reported in France on one thing. That's fine. Ekitike is being pushed a lot. United have been scouting him. They have been very interested. But at the same time, again, we're not going to be paying these huge fees for players, right? And we were discussing this yesterday. We were discussing this just yesterday on the United View guys had me on the Trinity thing there, because KG wasn't available, and we were just talking about this whole striker approach. And I was saying, I'm more understanding. Like, if you take it from a standpoint of, what if we don't want to go pay 70 million, to get another prospect, because that's what seemingly all these striker prices are. Ekitike, Agahawa, same thing. He'll be expensive. Benjamin Šeško, same thing. Gyökeres, you saw from David Ornstein. We've never really had a good chance at Gyökeres, as far as I know. And we've talked about that a lot. I've never really had him in like the we'll probably get him type of things at all. And Ornstein yesterday talked about how, Arsenal are strongly considering him, and their new director really likes him. Well, that's as much of a statement as you need to know that they're probably going to make him their top target. They need a striker. They'll probably get him. They can afford him. But I'm kind of getting the idea of why United would, and I want to debate this with you guys as well. Why United would probably look and say, maybe we should be getting like a good Premier League striker for a good fee, and then get another young player who could be anybody. Okay? Could be anybody. Could be anybody. Another young striker, and say, let's give our guys time to develop behind somebody who's able to get some good goals. Who's able to score some goals in the league and all of that. And I look at that and I think, maybe Mateta does start to make a lot of sense as a striker who could come in. I'd much rather have Mateta than Jonathan David, I can tell you that much. I am not a fan of Jonathan David. I would much rather have Mateta than Jonathan David. He's a proven Premier League goal scorer at this point in time. He's got 15 goals in English comps this year. He had 19 goals last season. By the end of the season, he could be near that 20 goal mark again. Could Mateta? He plays in a similar system to us right now. Glasner's system is quite good, but it's similar to Amarim's system. And he would make a pretty easy transition from Palace to United. Could bring us 10 to 15 goals. Now, is that all we need? Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. But when you look at the, when you look at it from the standpoint of a not a stopgap, but a nice, good. Of course, he's average. I'm not saying he's prolific, but do you know what the options we have now are, and how good are they? Rasmus Højlund has right now 3 goals in the Premier League. He scored 0 in the cup as well. So when you look at that and you say, well, so what? Let's say you get a striker who comes in and scores 10 to 15 goals. Okay. So what? You get him, you get a young player in, and you fix the rest of the team at the same time. Is it the long-term answer to our top striker? No, but we might have that in Cheeto. We might have that in another young striker we bring in. We might have that there long-term already. So getting someone who can score 10 to 15 goals, hold up play, do the things we want consistently, kind of makes sense. How is his stats in the build-up? I mean, that's a good question too. They're not bad. They're not bad overall. Let me just take a look at something here. Let's look at him like compared to striker real quick. We can look at some stats here. Look at how he does in duels and things like that. Would Mateta have scored more than Hoyland this season for us? 100%. 100% he would have. And he would have done a lot better at some other aspects of his game. I mean, let's look at some stats here. I think I've got this pulled up correctly. Let's look at some stats for Mateta here. And look, I'm not sitting here pretending he's like the most insane player on earth, right? But he is in the 87th percentile for goals, non-penalty goals, and he's in the 81st for expected goals. When you look at it, like, this is not bad. He's a good finisher. If you look at his carrying of and passing of the ball, he's actually right around average for a striker, progressing. He's a good shooter. He's a really good shooter. I mean, that's the important thing to note. He's obviously, and he's doing that. He's not like heavily involved in passing or build up. Fair. He's good at take on. He's got a high number of take ons. Let's see. He's a decent defender from the front. That's good too. He's up there above average on the tackles and all of that. There's not too much you could take out of this. He's an average dribbler. He's a decent player. And so I look at it and I'm like, obviously it depends on the price. It depends on the price, right? But Mateta is exactly the type of guy that could be a good backup for the future as well. Now, we go to Hoyland here. He still finishes well above his XG. He just doesn't get any. He just doesn't, shoot ever. You look at all these numbers and you think, doesn't create his own shot. That's a big difference here. Zero goal creating actions for shots. Very low on creating his own shot. Fair enough. Really poor defender from the front, funnily enough. I mean, way worse than Mateta here. It's somewhat goes under the radar. Really poor dribbler. You got to understand, we're talking about an actually quite decent player here in Mateta. He's not amazing, but he's not bad. He's not bad. And that's all I'm looking at the moment is I'm saying if we think our young players are good, then we should. And if we can get it, I'd rather get a Mateta who comes in on, bearing in mind the price. I'm not saying you should pay 40, 50 million for Mateta, right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying, yeah, let me see if I can pull up something, okay, for what it's worth. I mean, it ain't good, by the way. But look, I'm not saying you go spend a bomb on him. But you have Cheeto, if you get another young player come in and you go for Mateta, then he gives you somebody consistent who can play well in the short term. I mean, look, 15 to 20 goal strikers in the Premier League don't really grow on trees. But I'm talking like we don't have Champions League and we need to rebuild this whole team. I think it's a huge risk to go spend 70, 80 on an Ekitike or a Benjamin Šeško. I think it's a huge risk. I don't think we could get a Gyökeres or an Osimhen. So what's the in between there? You just stick with Højlund next season? No, you can't. You just can't. You cannot stick with a striker of this level. You know, if you look at like last season, just as a simple comparison, like, and let's look at 2 seasons of Mateta. He's still better at everything. Now, Rasmus Højlund's goals were a little bit better last season, but all the things that Mateta is doing are still better right now than Højlund. So, yeah, let's see if we can just compare last season. You know, Mateta is a good player, and I would be fine with taking him in. You know, on a cheap deal, 25 to 30 million. It could also allow you just to keep Højlund and let him play behind Mateta. You know, but it's okay. You know, we could do that. It's not like it's a lower risk one, but I'm saying when, like, let's talk about the specific circumstance that I'm talking about. You have no Champions League, not a lot of money. You need 5 players to come in. You need a striker, you need a 10, you need a midfielder, you need a center back, you need something else. What do you do at striker? No Champions League. You can't go, let's say you cannot go spend 70, 80 million on a top striker. Playing behind, I mean like in the order, like as the backup. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, I don't think this is like this horrid signing, like, that is being made out. Why is it so bad? Like, what is so bad about signing Mateta? What's so bad about signing a 15 to 20 goal Premier League scorer? You know, as a 27-year-old who's got 5 good years left in him, he doesn't have an insane amount of mileage. I mean, he's a striker. He's a player who you can play, who can develop easily into a backup role if you get a better one. If one of your young players do well enough. I mean, it's actually a really sensible signing to me when I look at it. It's not a small purple patch though. He's had 2 solid straight years in the Premier League. I was actually debating this with the guys yesterday. It's like, it's not sideways. He's way better than our current options, so it's an improvement. That's the thing people have to look at. It's a long purple patch. he's had as long a purple patch as Gyökeres has, albeit not as prolific. It's like buying De Ligt when you have Maguire. It's how though? Like, he's way better than our current options presently. He's way better than right now. Like, you got to understand something. We're not average right now. We have the 81st ranked striker in the Premier League today. Like, just bear that in mind for a second. Like, just on present. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm saying just presently on the numbers, we have like the literal 81st ranked striker. He is an upgrade. You know, he is an upgrade. Like, a lot better. If we don't get Europe, then, you know, it's a decent idea. But I wouldn't pay 40, 45 million for him. I would spend, 25, 30 million. Mateta will be 81 when he joins. What do I not like about David's? I'll tell you. I've watched Jonathan David quite a bit because he's played obviously as well against the US team on a number of occasions. And the thing about Jonathan David, let me see if I can demonstrate this somehow. I'll try to demonstrate the problem I have with Jonathan David. I mean, the first red flag is that he's been there for a long time. He's been there for a long time, and nobody wants him. And it keeps happening. And every year he's got all these crazy stats, and then every year nobody wants him. I've watched him in international competitions, and it's kind of wild. He's like not good, but I'm trying to think how do I show this? You can kind of see it in this game. Maybe you can't. You can kind of see it here. Maybe you can't in this. But I've seen this throughout his career. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a season that demonstrates it really, really well. Man. International football sucks, but if you look shit against the US, then I'm not. It makes me very concerned. I don't know how to describe it with Jonathan David. The thing that I've seen with Jonathan David is one, when you watch him, I think he would really, really, really struggle in a Premier League against the pace of the game, against the increase in physicality there. He's just not hit. It's so hard to describe, but he's just not it, man. I wish I could be more specific and explain and articulate this better. But like, if you just watch him and you compare him to most strikers that you watch, he really is benefiting from the space in the French league, because he's really, really basic. He's not that fast. He's not that intense. He doesn't really make his own shots. He's just kind of there. He's just kind of there. And I think he will float. He will float out. He's had a habit a lot of times of floating out of games. And he would go with these long stretches of not scoring and then score a lot at many points in his career, where in stretches he will go. And I think he will really, like, a lot of people will look at it. A lot of scouts look at it. A lot of people in football look at it. And the reason he hasn't gotten a move is they all look at it and they say, I don't think this is a player who can do the step up to a tougher league, because they don't have the intensity for it. And it's hard to describe. It's honestly, it's hard to describe. But look at Lacazette. Let's take Lacazette as an example, okay? I would use Lacazette as a really good example of a striker who in France was dominating. Was insane. Way better than Jonathan David. He came to the Premier League and you could see the same thing that I see with Jonathan David. That he doesn't have, like, I even thought he had it. Lacazette, I thought, would be successful. Lacazette was okay, but he was one of the best strikers in the world in France. And then he goes back and he's insane again. I mean, you look at his numbers. He goes 4 goals scored in his last season at Arsenal, and then 27 the next season in Lyon. Like, his numbers went less than half. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something in it that is just off. He has a similar build, a similar physicality. He similarly drifts out of games, similar lack of intensity, that I think when he comes up against a tougher, faster, stronger teams is going to be crap. That's just how I see it. And I look at Mateta, for example, and I say he's already in the Premier League. I think for Mateta, you get exactly what you expect. That's why for me, it's low risk. We haven't done a lot of Premier League transfers. And that, to me, is one of the reasons why we have a lot of flops when we sign players. Because when people transition from another league, you start to go, what? We get a lot of these misses. I mean, look at Sancho, obviously, things like that, right? We haven't signed a lot of players from the Premier League, and I think it's a kind of a problem. I think we get them when they're real at the end, but you look at how they transition, they mostly do well. You know, when we signed Nemanja Matic, we signed him too late. He came in and he was really good. We signed Juan Mata, came in and he was really good. We signed Lukaku, came in and he was really good. Like, players who we signed from the Premier League tend to keep up their form or their goal scoring. I mean, people classified Lukaku as a flop, but he really wasn't. He was actually really good for us in his first season. Mason Mount was eternally injured, you know, unfortunately, right? But it's like that to me is again, it's like, that's the thing. I think you get a more guaranteed success when you sign from the Premier League. You know, Alexis Sanchez is a terrible signing, but everybody knew he was already on the decline when we signed him. It was very, very obvious. We signed players who are injured or on the decline, and you know, that's what happens. But I mean, God, when we signed Alexis Sanchez, his last, you know, his numbers had already gone in half, and he was clearly on the decline when we signed him. Maguire has been really consistent. Like, we paid too much money for Maguire, but he's what we expected, and he's a good player. Wan-Bissaka paid too much money, but pretty much what we expected, and he's a good player. You get a lot more consistency from the Premier League signings. The issue is we usually pay way too much money. You know, at the end of the day, that's the biggest issue. We pay too much money. But if you sign Mateta, again, if you talk about signing like too old of players as well, Luke Shaw was a great signing. Just got this major injury. He was a good signing too. But you know, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of Premier League signings actually work out better for the most part. But the value is important. You don't want to pay 50 million. If you pay 25 million for Mateta, I think it's one of the better signings you could do. You sign a 15-goal player in the Premier League. I think you're going to get a 15-goal player out of the Premier League. If you sign a 15-goal player from League One, you might get a 5-goal player. That's just what it is. You know, that's like, it's a risk, you know. So that's all. I have those concerns. If we cannot get Champions League and we cannot get a top striker, then I think it starts to make a lot of sense to say, what about a Mateta? Someone drops in the team, we can build the rest of it, lower wages, lower, you know, decent fee, and we go and we get 12, 15 goals out of him. I'm okay with that. I think that would be great. You know, I'd be good with that. You know, I would be good with that. So I'd be okay with that as an option. Now, if we can get into Champions League, then I really think we got to go big. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Then if we can get in Champions League, then I'm not saying you go Mateta if you get into Champions League. I'm saying you go bigger. You definitely go bigger. But this is an option. Especially for consistency. Like, I get it. Like, I'm good with signing prospects all around Europe. But if you just wanted someone who's you're like most reliable to get you decent numbers, then signing from the Premier League is usually a good sign. I mean, we passed up on Rice, ended up signing way more expensive, you know, more costly and worse players at the end of the day, wasting time on that. We passed up on signing Rice years ago. We should have done it. You know, we passed up on a lot of Premier League signings that we should have done. I think that's why, you know, Braithwaite for me would still be a very good signing. Delap could still be an option too, for sure. He could still be an option as well. So, all right. Moving forward to that, to injuries. Obviously, we've got a lot of players returning. A lot of players returning at the moment. The news was... One second. Interesting. Huh. See, I don't get this. It's just one little thing here. Like, Santi just posted something saying that well, not saying I don't get this, but Santi just posted something saying that Everton are really looking at this young center back in case Braithwaite leaves the club. Who's buying Braithwaite if it's not us? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen like many links to him. But anyway, moving beyond that. Injuries. Maguire back. Lenny Yoro back. Mount fully back. Then there's Aiden Heaven, who's very likely going to be Liverpool. It could be Liverpool, yeah. Aiden Heaven, who's very likely going to be in the in train. It should be back in training here shortly. So we might have a really full squad. We were looking at this on Friday and saying, dang, there's actually like a lot of players available when we come back from injuries. A lot. Kobbie Mainoo will be back very soon as well. Liverpool might have wrapped him up. Yeah, and they could. But Everton are still asking for a really big fee, so I guess we'll find out about that. But yeah, we have a lot of players returning, and I think by end of the week, practically everybody, bar Lissandro and Ahmad, right, are going to be available, which is kind of wild when you look at it, when you think about our whole plans and our injuries and all that. And on Ahmad, I mentioned last week that they expected that, from my side, I expected he'd be back early May with the team. Fabrizio did an update, and Sully did an update as well that seemed to align strongly with this, that Ahmad is doing quite well ahead of schedule. Obviously, there's still time between now and early May to see whether, you got to keep on a good path of rehabbing and all of that. But he on the current track, it is becoming quite possible that he could play with the team by May, and be in training a little before that. So it's really good signs there. Really, really good signs there. Obviously, we avoided a major injury with Heaven. That's all very, very good. So yeah, we're getting quite a full squad back at the right time, and it's definitely leading to some of my optimism on where we're going. If Shaw and Mount are in the sides but can only play as subs, fine with me. Impact subs, give us some minutes in Europe. I mean, look, here's the thing. If they can give us a few games in Europe, it can make a difference, So I guess we will see there. But yeah, we should have a very full squad, and I think that's going to make it kind of interesting when you look at the youth, which we'll talk about in a second, about which youth will stay in the first team at this point in time. Now, you also got some. I think I discussed the Mentato contract and all of that, but when you look at it, looks like Amass staying with the first team, Cheeto going down to the Youth Cup. There's going to be players who have to be left out just because we have so many players in the squad compared to before. With the injuries returning, we're going to have a lot of players available. So that is interesting. That is interesting stuff right there. And that's a good sign, and I think we're starting to get through it. Is the under-18 semi 2 legs? I don't think it is. I believe it's just a one-off game. I wanted to talk about loans because I think it also applies to so much more. So much more than what we've seen. So obviously, in the last few weeks, we've seen Anthony continue his good form for Real Betis. He's successful there. He seems happy. He's all of that stuff. Good for them. Good for him. Rashford scoring a couple goals in the cup games, starting to get some more form. These loans are working. And one of the things, again, that we really need to do, because what this shows is it shows increased value, is we need to be quicker and stronger about loaning players out. When we have any doubts, when we have young players who are on the verge of getting into the first team, this is one of the reasons you should loan them out quickly. Because if they perform, immediately they're raising their value, even if you don't see them as a part of the team long term, right? Like Anthony, he's not coming back. He's going to be sold, Rashford, he's not coming back. He's going to be sold. So the loans have simply, improved everything. The loans have simply made us better. Wow, is that the team that just come out? I'll show that in a second here. Thank you. The loans are just making us a lot better, and they're just raising our, our, what do you call it? Value of all of these players to where they can do a lot more, and we can get money back, and instead of waiting until they're free agents. So it's working, and it's going to give us a really good shot at selling Antony, selling Rashford, selling Malacia, selling these players. And it's the same thing when we get some of these young players that we're talking about, under 21s level, things like that, where just send them on loan. Just send them on loan. Get them out on loan quickly, and they can actually, build them up. So it's going to make a big difference. Sancho is a unique case. It's hard to describe anything with Sancho. On the Youth Cup, obviously, it's starting in about an hour. I'll go over the lineup here in a second, as it looks like it's just come out. Huge game today for the youth. Yeah, here we go. Let's just get to the lineup then and look at it. Murdoch, Camason, Monroe, Armour, Kokonki, Devaney, Fletcher, Scanlon, Obi, and Bianchieri. So this is a really good lineup. And then off the bench, this is one of the great things about the under 18s level is Thwaites, Ibrahimov, Lucelle, Mantato off of the bench is crazy. Is crazy. Like, the ability to change the game in all of that is fantastic. Yeah, we'll do the second half on my channel. I'm gonna join Flex and him on United View during the first half for our usual Monday live, but then I will be going on to my own big up at 8 o'clock to do the second half. So the second half I'll be watching on my channel. We can hang out and do it as a watch along. So please join me over there. But yeah, this is a really good side. It's a really good team. And Musa, yes, as well. It's a really good side, really good team. Very, very strong. But yes, it also confirms what Sully shared this morning very early, was that Harry Amass is staying with the first team. One of the things, obviously, I think this indicates for Ruben Amorim is his want to maintain some, like, stability. His left-footed players. He likes left-footed players. We don't have enough of them. Being able to have Dorgu and Amass. So if Dorgu needs to be subbed off or, protected or something like that, or he's on a yellow, we don't want another red, then, then Amass can be the backup over there, and he's gotten his start now. And so or not his start, but his minutes now. So he could probably be that rotational left back. And really that will give us more options moving forward, so that we can really start to see continuity in the team. You know what I mean? Continuity, I think, is so important for the first team. And it seems like that's what Amorim is trying to build now. Make sure we have continuity. I expect Amass, I expect that Kokonki will get, or Kokonki, I actually mean Mantato. Mantato, again, will get in there as he's been training with the first team as well, as we get into the latter part, especially in the Premier League, to play on the other side. And we'll start to see what some of these youth can do. But, like, Amass is a really good example of this, which is he needs to play, and I think he should have been on loan this whole season if we weren't going to use him for most of the year. And he would have extremely raised his value to where either he's worth something to sell or he's able to come into the first team. Thwaites trains, Coney trains. Thwaites is, I think the size is a bit of an issue with Thwaites. I think he needs a little more growing, hopefully. Kone could definitely get in there, but Thwaites, I think, needs a little more growing. But I'm really curious to see who else stays with the first team, moving forward, in addition to everything and for the rest of the season, because there's definitely a plan to get more first team minutes for some youth and get them seen more. Like we've been talking about this the last week with Mentato and all of that, but obviously this is a big focus through the end of the season that we need to get some of these guys more minutes with the first team so we can see them, see what they can do, see what they have, and yeah, and that's what's going to matter. But with the youth, yeah, this is a really strong lineup. It's one I would expect to do quite well, and they should be the favorites over against Aston Villa as well. So I expect we'll have a good game to watch, and like I said, I will watch the second half of the game over live. I'll watch the whole game, but I'm gonna watch the second half live over on Big Up, and you guys can join me there, and we can talk about it because it's yeah, it's usually a lot of fun. What was I thinking a second ago? Yeah. We've brought in a lot of height over the year. The Athletic podcast, yeah, they did have a good interview with the youth coaches. But yeah, it's exciting. And then obviously the final could be at Old Trafford against City is a strong chance, and that would be a huge game. I mean, United are getting a ton of support from the fans and crowd and all of that, but yeah, it could be really really big. So I'm really excited. I really hope they can pull off a win today. But we'll watch the second half. I'll watch the whole game, but we'll watch the second half together if you want to come hang out with me. I'm gonna go get it on the schedule now. Let's see. Anything else? God, it's been such a long break between games. It's tough. It'll change tomorrow. We'll finally have a game. We'll do a pregame tomorrow. We'll vote on the squad, and then I'll do a little live once the lineup actually comes out as well. Do the game. I'll do a little post-match video. Phil and I will be doing the podcast either after the game, right afterwards, or tomorrow morning. Or Wednesday morning, we kind of decided like we keep doing them without games, and we really wanted to have a couple games go on to have some more to discuss in the podcast. So we'll do the podcast either Tuesday right afterwards or Wednesday morning. But yeah, I swear it's quiet, but it's also like this is like the quiet time. But I've covered as much as I could. I made the midfield video, I made the tens video. I've tried to at least provide as much during this break information wise as I can. But man, I've actually reached the point where without playing any games, I've run out of things to talk about. I really have. It's rare for me to run out of things to discuss, but I've reached a little bit of the end of my limit on what to say. But yeah. Either way, make sure to watch everything. No French striker name. Depends. Depends what you think. Depends if you've been paying attention. Let's see. I'm just getting this thing on the schedule here for this match. So that it's over on Big Up. All right, I've got the second half scheduled over on Big Up. I will see you all there. But yeah, I probably will just eat some food, have a do this thing with you, and then go watch the second half with everybody. So, what are your opinion on Roche's suggested move to Newcastle? It's interesting because she's like the one person that they didn't want to really let go of. So, it's no surprise, Newcastle kind of coming in trying to get her. She's also been heavily involved in this whole stadium thing. So Newcastle also want a new stadium and have a stadium project. And so it kind of makes sense. that they're kind of chasing her. James, I think you have the podcast version of what we call the writer's block. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it didn't help when I got sick and last week. Like I was struggling. I was trying to make everything that I could um last week, and then I was just like I was just struggling over the weekend. I didn't even make anything, and I was having a hard time. I feel better today. So yeah, soon. And I'm one of the things I'm gonna add every week on Friday, like afternoon, is a live over on Big Up to do like a weekly recap of all the news. Because usually like Saturday, Sunday we've got brain fog. I had really definitely really bad brain fog during this illness as well, where I was just like not creative and I couldn't remember shit. It was a rough one. But yeah, every Friday I'm gonna do a new show live over on Big Up to watch along, and one of the reasons I'm doing it there is they're continuing to build out features. Like they're gonna build out a feature, some sort of features to help with these news, with even like news shows where there's things I can use that will easily like pull up headlines and do all that. Now, this is going to be an addition to all the normal things I'm doing on YouTube lives and the videos and all of that. But every Friday afternoon, I'll be doing this recap of the news of the week, kind of running through it, discussing it, all of that, just every story for the whole week. So if you missed, like, obviously I cover things on a regular basis through the week, but just like a big recap. I did one not last week, but the week before. People really liked it. It will be posted on YouTube afterwards as well. But that's a new thing I want to do. Just it helps people, I think, because not everybody catches the full video or the full live or the full breakdown of everything, and that gives like a big recap at the end of the week for people to watch. So that'll be a new thing I'll be adding. But I really appreciate everybody sticking with me, watching all the content and things like that. And I think that obviously in the next few weeks we'll start to really get into it. Um, yeah, we can do how the structures improved using the highlights of matches. That's true too. And yes, I'll be doing so. I have a lot of stuff coming. Okay, just as final wrap up, and then I'll stop reiterating. But I'll be live with On United View in 45 minutes, so come watch there. I'll be live for the second half of the FA Youth Cup, so come watch there. I'll do a post match. We'll do a podcast tomorrow, or tomorrow after the game, or Wednesday morning. I'll do a live before the game, another live before the game, some sort of post match, a podcast Wednesday morning, a recap on Recap AI. We'll watch all the highlights of tomorrow's game on Wednesday. It's going to be a busy week. I'm going to have like 2-3 things to do a day, which is nice with football back. So there's going to be a hell of a lot of stuff if you want to keep all of that. Interesting. Mentato was training with the men's first team, but doesn't always start with youth. Well, there's an interesting part to that, right? Because he actually went with the first team, with the under 21s, and started recently. But it's that he's kind of a winger for United for the youth, because they don't play 3 at the back at under 18s, and they have some other. It's mostly a stylistic choice about it. You know what I mean? Like, oof. It's mostly like a stylistic choice. It's an interesting one, isn't it? That but he's a wingback. He's gonna play as a wingback. Yeah, tactical. Like he's gonna play as a wingback for the first team. It's already been discussed. He's a wingback. He's a wingback for Amarim. That's his best position. So he's kind of a winger at the under 18s level, but they, especially like today, you look like they have Cheeto, Biancheri always is starting when he's there. So, he's been, and also he was injured and all that too, but he's it's an interesting one. But Camison plays at fullback, which makes sense as part of a back four. Mentato's really not a back four fullback, so he's going to play right wing, and just the positions, the way that they select the team, he's less necessary to start, but big impact. I mean, he had a huge impact in the last game. There we go. The official account finally tweeted, which I just wanted to be sure of. Murdoch, Camasa, Monroe, Armour, Kokonki, Defaney. Does that mean Kokonki is playing as the left back? Because Monroe and Armour are the center backs, right? Devaney, Fletcher, the midfield, Obi, Biancheri, and Scanlon in the forward line. So yeah, Kokonki will be playing as a left back today, which he's done on a number of occasions. Yeah, I'm sure Ibrigimov, Mantato, Thwaites, and Lucelle will come on. Yeah, I know Kokonki's played at left back quite a number of occasions, for sure. But yeah, good stuff. Very exciting. All right, well, I'm not going to rattle on too long here, but make sure to like the video while you're still here. Thank you for hanging out with me. I'm going to take a few minutes, and you can come join on United View for the discussion there. And then come join me for the second half of the FA Youth Cup. I'll do a little post-match review and all of that. And yeah, he couldn't play as a wing. Yeah, I think he could be a left center back in a 3 for sure. Would be Kokonki's probably his ideal position, frankly, because he's got those good kind of traits as well, to the good awareness to stay out there and play wide and all of that stuff. So thank you all. Hopefully, United get a good win in this Youth Cup game today, and we have a good week. Youth Cup game tomorrow. Lots to do, lots to talk about moving forward. Lots to hopefully be positive about. So we'll see. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you all later. Have a good one, everybody. I appreciate you all. See you later.